The founders understood this, and that's why they wrote the Constitution in the way they did. They wrote it so that it was a restraint on government. It doesn't restrain the people. It frees the people and tells the government what they can't do. And yet today, we have a government that tells us what to do, and so much in government is kept secret. The purpose of the Fourth Amendment is to preserve your privacy. But our privacy is systematically under attack, and what has happened to our government? It's becoming more secret than ever before, and that has to be reversed if we're to have a proper constitutional government. Today we face a serious problem financially, and we have to look at where the money is going. We have overextended ourselves overseas. There is no doubt about it. We now maintain an empire, and we can't afford it. We now spend over $1 trillion a year maintaining all the things that we do overseas. We are now involved in over 130 countries. We have 700 bases overseas, and it really doesn't serve our interests. We are not stronger for it. We're actually weaker for it because it undermines our financial conditions here at home. At the same time, we get into protracted wars that aren't, where we don't even see the end to these wars, which drains our military, demoralizes our military. At the same time, we don't see an end to it. The solution, the prevention is that we should never go to war without a declaration of war as according to the Constitution. Since World War II, we haven't declared a war once, and we haven't won it, and it continues to drain us. And this is the reason I argue that we should debate the war before we go to war, not after it starts, and then we get into a situation that is so difficult to leave. I was drafted in 1962 during the Vietnam War crisis and the Cuban crisis. And it was always argued, well, we can't leave now, because it's a mess and it's going to get messier and there will be a domino effect in Vietnam. What didn't happen, we finally had to leave after 60,000 Americans were killed. It was tragic. And yet today, after following the advice of the founders, we got out of there. We quit trying to pursue our interests militarily. We started talking to the Vietnamese. We started trading with the Vietnamese. We started visiting and investing in Vietnam. And they come here and we talk to their president. And now they're westernized. We did that in peace, not in war. So the founders are absolutely correct. Their advice was to stay out of entangling alliances, stay out of the internal affairs of other nations, but always be willing to talk and practice diplomacy and to get along with people. So this is a much better approach. Now, they said, once again, we cannot leave Iraq. Even one candidate says we shouldn't leave for 100 years. But how are we going to stay for 100 years? There's no money. Even if you thought it was a good idea, it isn't, as far as I'm concerned, a good idea, but it won't work because we're running out of money. So the solution is to our financial problem, so that we can take care of the people here at home that are in need, is we have to cut somewhere, and I would say the easiest place politically to cut is the money we spend overseas. So we have to start bringing our troops home as soon as possible. This is not only in the Middle East and in Iraq and Afghanistan, but also why are we paying for the defense of Japan? Why do we have troops in Japan and in Korea and Europe when they're as wealthy as we are and we're getting poorer every day and our dollar is going down in value? So something has to be done. If we don't do something, what happens is the country goes into bankruptcy with the destruction of the currency. And that is why the weakening of the dollar on the international exchange market is the most important statistic that's going on right now today, because it's a measurement of the health of our economy and the health of our currency. And right now, the signs are that we're not in good health, so we have to do something. If we do nothing, the currency collapses. Those who are dependent on government programs, Social Security beneficiaries and people who get medical benefits and educational benefits. The dollar will keep crashing. There will never be a way you can keep up. Matter of fact, middle-class America today is getting poorer. The middle class is being undermined. It's harder to pay their bills. Social Security beneficiaries aren't keeping up. Inflation rates are over 10% and they get 2% raises. So the standard of living is going down. That is why it's necessary to address this as quickly as possible. Those who say that we can't do this, if we left Iraq, that we would have chaos and conditions and everything would get much worse. You know who tells us that? It's the very people who said if we go in, it'll be a cakewalk and oil will pay all the bills. But just look at what has happened. It has not been a cakewalk. Mission has not been accomplished. And therefore, the mission will be accomplished when we obey the Constitution and be very cautious with what we do. Not only are the economic consequences of extending ourselves too far overseas a serious problem, but another condition happens when we're in perpetual war, and we're told this war is going to go on endlessly. But what happens is it softens our resistance as a people against the encroachment of our personal liberties here at home. And this is historic. Whether it was the Civil War, World War I, or World War II, or even Korean War, the American people, as other people have, they've always said, well, conditions are bad, and we have to sacrifice our freedoms, and therefore we have to go along. But you know, we were warned about that, and I have come to the firm conclusion that to be safe and secure in this country, we should never have to sacrifice any of our personal liberties. But today, just think of what we put up with going through the airports. Think of how much intrusion there has been into our personal privacy, the invasion of our communications, the invasion of our internet, the warrantless searches that are going on in the secret prisons. It's all done in the name of national security. Yet, you know, if you have a problem with some criminals who use guns, we don't register and take away the guns of innocent people. And this is what's happening today. What has happened today since 9/11, we have registered the American people regardless of whether we're guilty or innocent. And today, we are now well moved into this condition of accepting the national ID card with a number stamped on it. We are at a point now where we will be carrying our papers. As of May 1st, the national ID card will be in effect. And if a state doesn't accept it, you won't be allowed to get on airplanes and you won't be allowed to get into a federal building. And they call that voluntary. You either do it or else. You cannot travel to Mexico or Canada, and you can't get back in unless you have your passport. So there is more intrusion on our personal liberties. Now, personal liberty is very important. And in some ways, personal liberty means that we're tolerant, because all of us are not believers as we are. But we tolerate other people's beliefs. But if we give up on the First Amendment and we give up on the importance of protecting our liberties will be justified, and that's why we have to have a very clear understanding of the protection of our personal liberties and our religious liberties as it's stated in the First Amendment. The one thing that we have failed on, one of our responsibilities here in this country, and a federal government responsibility, and that is protecting our nation and protecting our national sovereignty. And here today we have less concern about our borders than we have about the borders overseas. So I would say that we should spend a lot more time dealing with adequate protection and on our borders, and not encouraging, as we do through our economic system, encouraging illegal immigration. That we cannot sustain.